Luke's lightsaber trembles in his grip. At his feet lies his father, broken, sparking, dying. The Emperor is gone. The throne room is silent. And yet, the danger has only just begun. Luke, Anakin gasps, blood darkening the edges of his mask as it cracks open. You have to end this. You have to kill me. It's the only way. The words strike harder than any Sith lightning. Somewhere beyond the walls of the Death Star, entire worlds hang by a thread. Fleets burn. Cities wait to be erased. With every second Luke hesitates, more lives vanish into the void. The Emperor's final contingency is unfolding. A trap designed to survive even his own death. And the key to stopping it lies in an unthinkable act. Luke Skywalker must become the executioner of his own father. How did salvation turn into damnation? How did the moment meant to redeem Darth Vader transform into the galaxy's darkest crossroads? To understand, we must rewind to the final gamble of the Emperor and the choice that would tear Luke's soul in half. The corridors of the second Death Star echo with distant explosions as Luke walks toward the throne room. The station trembles beneath the thunder of war. Fighters scream past the viewport windows, laser fire painting the stars with streaks of red and green. The Rebel Alliance has committed everything to this assault, and Luke knows something deeper than strategy tells him. The true battle is not in space. It is waiting for him ahead. As he approaches the massive durasteel doors, he slows. The dark side pours from the chamber beyond like invisible smoke, heavy and suffocating. But beneath it, another presence pulses in the Force. His father, conflicted, broken, trapped between the man he once was and the monster he has become. Luke closes his eyes and steadies his breathing. Memories of Dagobah surface, Yoda's quiet voice whispering. Through the fog, a Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack. Yet Luke feels the weight of reality pressing against that lesson. Because sometimes defense demands sacrifice. Sometimes protecting the galaxy means stepping into the fire. The doors slide apart with a metallic groan. The throne room reveals itself, vast, circular, cold. At its center sits Emperor Palpatine, perched on his throne like a spider at the heart of a web. His yellow eyes gleam with anticipation as he watches the battle unfold through the towering viewport behind him. To his side stands Darth Vader, silent, motionless, encased in shadow and machinery. Luke's father. Welcome, young Skywalker. The Emperor purrs, his voice slithering through the chamber. I have been expecting you. He gestures toward the stars. Your friends on the farthest moon walk straight into my trap. Your rebel fleet does the same. I allowed them to discover the shield generator. I wanted them to come. Luke ignites his lightsaber. The green blade floods the room with light. Your overconfidence will destroy you. Palpatine smiles, slow, cruel, delighted. Your faith in your friends will destroy you. The Death Star's weapon begins to charge outside the viewport. Space itself seems to hold its breath. Then the beam fires. A Mon Calamari cruiser vanishes in a blinding green flash. Erased in less than a heartbeat. Thousands of lives extinguished. Instantly. Luke staggers back through the Force. He feels it, the sudden silence where living voices once existed. The pain crashes into him like a wave. No, he whispers. The Emperor leans forward, savoring the moment. From this room, you will witness the extinction of the rebellion. Only now, at the end, do you finally understand. His eyes narrow. You were never strong enough to stop what is coming. But Luke's eyes are not on the Emperor. They are on his father, searching for any sign of the man who was once Anakin Skywalker. I feel the conflict within you, Luke says, his voice carrying across the chamber. Let go of your hate. You still have good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. For a moment, just a moment. Vader's posture seems to soften. The mechanical breathing that defines his existence seems to catch. As if some long-buried emotion is struggling to surface, the Emperor notices this as well, and his expression darkens. Such foolish sentiment. Lord Vader, dispatch this pretender. Show him the true meaning of the dark side's power. Vader draws his lightsaber, the crimson blade igniting with its familiar snap hiss. But there is hesitation in his movements, a reluctance that Luke can sense through the Force. I will not fight. You, Father, Luke declares, deactivating his lightsaber and clipping it to his belt. I can feel the good in you, the conflict. You were Anakin Skywalker once. You can be again. The Emperor's eyes narrow dangerously. If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny. He extends his withered hands, and crackling blue lightning erupts from his fingertips, striking Luke and sending him to the floor in agony. As Luke writhes in pain, his anguished cries fill the chamber. The Emperor laughs with sadistic pleasure. pouring more power into his attack. Young fool. Only now, at the end, do you understand? Your feeble skills are no match for the power of the dark side. But then something changes. Vader steps forward, his internal struggle finally reaching its breaking point. No, he says, his voice carrying a tone Luke has never heard before. Not the mechanical authority of Darth Vader, but something more human, more vulnerable. No, my son. The Dark Lord of the Sith reaches out and grasps his master by the shoulders, lifting the Emperor high above his head despite the lightning that now courses through his own systems, overloading his life support and filling the chamber with the acrid smell of burning electronics. With a final surge of strength, Vader hurls the Emperor down the reactor shaft. Palpatine's scream echoes as he falls, punctuated by the explosive release of dark side energy as his body is consumed by the reactor's core. Vader collapses, his systems failing, his breathing more labored than ever. Luke crawls to his father's side, cradling the helmeted head in his lap. Luke, Vader whispers, his voice weak and distorted by his damaged vocator. Help me take this mask off. But you'll die, Luke protests, even as his hands move to the helmet's release mechanisms. Nothing can stop that now, Vader replies. Just for once, let me look on you with my own eyes. Luke carefully removes the black helmet and mask, revealing the pale, scarred face of Anakin Skywalker. For the first time, father and son look upon each other without barriers, without the imposing presence of Darth Vader between them. You were right about me, Anakin says, his voice barely audible without the mechanical amplification. Tell your sister, you were right. Luke feels tears streaming down his face as he holds his dying father. This is the moment he has dreamed of, the redemption he has believed in despite all evidence to the contrary. His father has returned to the light, has chosen love over power, has saved his son at the cost of his own life. I'm going to get you out of here, Luke says desperately. We can start over. You can be free of all this darkness. We can be a family. Anakin's eyes, no longer the burning yellow of the Sith, but the gentle blue Luke remembers from the old holovids of the Clone Wars, focus on his son's face. You already saved me, Luke. You were right. There was still good in me. But as they share this tender moment of reconciliation, something begins to change in the throne room. The air itself seems to thicken with malevolent energy. The lighting flickers and dims, and a sound like distant thunder begins to rumble through the stations. Superstructure. Luke feels it first, a disturbance in the Force. Unlike anything he has ever experienced, it is ancient and powerful. A darkness so profound that it makes the Emperor's previous presence seem like a candle compared to a blazing sun. The temperature in the chamber begins to drop, and frost forms on the polished surfaces of the throne room. Luke's breath becomes visible as the very air around them grows cold with an otherworldly chill. From the reactor shaft where the Emperor fell, a sickly green light begins to emanate. Not the harsh green of the Death Star's super laser, but something organic and corrupt, like the glow of diseased swamp gas. What's happening? Luke whispers, his voice barely audible in the suddenly oppressive atmosphere. Anakin's eyes widen with recognition and terror. No, he breathes, his voice filled with a fear that Luke has never heard from his father, not even in their previous battles. It can't be. He said it was only theoretical. The green light from the reactor shaft grows brighter, and with it comes a sound that defies description. Part laughter, part scream, part the grinding of cosmic machinery. The very foundations of the Death Star begin to vibrate with sympathetic resonance. And then, impossibly, a figure begins to rise from the reactor shaft. It is the Emperor, but changed. His robes are gone, incinerated in his fall, revealing a body that is more energy than flesh. Green fire courses through what remains of his form, and his eyes burn with an inner light that hurts to look upon directly. His face, already twisted by decades of dark side corruption, has become something barely recognizable as human. Did you really think? The transformed Palpatine speaks, his voice now a harmony of tones that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. That a simple fall could destroy me? Did you believe that your pathetic display of sentiment could undo millennia of preparation? Luke scrambles to his feet, igniting his lightsaber and positioning himself protectively over his father. Impossible. You're dead. I felt your life force leave you. We both did. The Emperor's laugh now sounds like breaking glass mixed with distant thunder. Death? I transcended such mortal limitations. The revelation hits Luke like a physical blow. He staggers back, his lightsaber wavering in his grip. That's right, the Emperor continues, savoring Luke's horror. I bound my very essence to his. Every breath he takes feeds my power. Every beat of his heart sustains my immortality. As long as Darth Vader lives, I cannot truly die. Anakin's voice, weak and desperate, rises from where he lies dying. Luke, it's true. I can feel him, always there in the back of my mind. Every atrocity I committed, every moment of rage and hatred, he was feeding off it, growing stronger. The Emperor's form becomes more solid as he speaks, drawing strength from the very act of revealing his triumph. Every time you believed you had struck a blow against the Empire, every victory your pathetic rebellion claimed, it was meaningless. I simply retreated into the sanctuary of Vader's consciousness and waited for the opportune moment to return. Luke's mind races, trying to process the implications, all those battles, all that sacrifice, all those lives lost in the fight against the Empire. And they had been fighting a war they could never truly win. The binding goes deeper than mere life force, the Emperor explains with the patience of a teacher instructing a favored pupil. It is woven into the very fabric of his soul, intertwined with his connection to the Force itself. When he saved you just now, when he chose love over power, he merely strengthened the binding. Redemption, it turns out, makes for an even more potent anchor than hatred. From Luke's comlink, urgent voices begin to crackle through the static. Han Solo's voice, tense with desperation. Luke, something's happening to the fleet. Ships that were destroyed are somehow repairing themselves. It's like they're being rebuilt by invisible hands. Leia's voice follows, equally panicked. Luke, we're detecting massive energy signatures across Imperial space. Every dead Star Destroyer, every abandoned base, they're all coming online at once. What's happening up there? The Emperor's laughter grows louder, echoing through the Force itself. Even now, across the galaxy, my true power awakens. Operation Cinder, my contingency protocols, the hidden fleets I have prepared for exactly this moment. They all activate in response to my resurrection. Luke can feel it through the Force, a wave of darkness spreading outward from the Death Star. Like ripples on a pond on Coruscant, automated systems that have lain dormant since the Emperor's apparent death suddenly roar to life. Across the Outer Rim, secret Imperial bases buried beneath planetary surfaces begin to emerge like technological flowers, blooming in the desert. On Jakku, massive Star Destroyers that had been written off as war casualties suddenly power up their engines, their crews replaced by something that is no longer entirely human. On Biss, cloning facilities that were thought to be legends begin producing armies of soldiers loyal only to the resurrected Emperor. You see, young Skywalker, Palpatine continues, his form now fully materialized and more powerful than ever. Your rebellion ends here. From the ashes of your hope, my true empire will rise. An empire where death itself has no meaning, where my will extends beyond the grave to ensure eternal order. Through the massive viewport behind the throne, Luke watches in horror as the space battle takes a turn for the impossible. Imperial Star Destroyers that had been crippled or destroyed suddenly begin to repair themselves, their hulls knitting back together with supernatural speed. Destroyed TIE fighters reassemble from cosmic debris, their pilots' voices eerily calm as they report for duty to commanders who should have been dead hours ago. The rebel fleet, already stretched to its limits, begins to fall back in confusion and terror. Admiral Akbar's voice comes over the comm. All ships, fall back. We're facing something beyond our understanding. The enemy fleet is growing stronger instead of weaker. Luke feels the weight of billions of lives hanging in the balance. Every world that will burn under this resurrected empire, every child that will grow up in slavery, every freedom that will be crushed under the heel of eternal tyranny, all because he dared to hope for his father's redemption. There has to be another way, Luke pleads, looking desperately between the floating Emperor and his dying father. There has to be some way to break the binding, some way to free him from your influence without. The Emperor's smile is like acid eating through metal, without killing dear old daddy. Oh, my naive young apprentice. There is indeed a way, several ways. In fact, I could simply release the binding myself, allowing Vader to die and freeing you both from this predicament. Hope flares in Luke's chest, but the Emperor's next words crush it instantly. Of course, the price would be your complete surrender to the dark side. Kneel before me, swear eternal loyalty to the Sith, and I will grant your father a peaceful death. Refuse, and watch as I use his life force to fuel an eternal empire that will span every world, every system, every corner of the galaxy until the heat death of the universe itself. Luke's lightsaber trembles in his grip. The choice before him is impossible. Sacrifice his soul to save his father, and damn the galaxy to eternal tyranny, or find some other way to break a binding that has existed for over 20 years. Think carefully, young Skywalker, the Emperor continues. Every second you hesitate, more of your precious rebels die. Every moment of indecision costs 1,000 lives. Your friends Han and Leia, fighting desperately on the moon below. How long before my renewed forces overwhelm them? Your sister, so strong in the Force, she would make an excellent apprentice. After you are gone, through the Force, Luke can feel the battle raging on Ender's forest moon. Han, Leia, Chewbacca, and the Rebel strike team are fighting for their lives against an Imperial force that seems to know their every move. Stormtroopers who should be dead rise again with supernatural resilience at St. Walkers that were destroyed, reassemble themselves with mechanical precision. But worse than the immediate threat is what Luke can sense spreading across the galaxy. On every Imperial world, in every system where the Empire once held sway, the darkness is awakening. Worlds that had tasted freedom for mere hours find themselves once again under the shadow of tyranny. On Naboo, Queen Apellana's palace is surrounded by clone troopers who march with the mechanical precision of the undead. On Alderaan's memorial sites, Imperial probe droids begin seeding the debris field with surveillance equipment, claiming the scattered remains of the planet for the Empire. Most terrifying of all, Luke can sense the Emperor's influence spreading to Force-sensitive beings across the galaxy. Former Jedi who had escaped Order 66 find their minds clouded with whispers of surrender. Potential new Jedi, children just discovering their abilities, are drawn toward the dark side with an irresistible pull. I can feel your anguish, the Emperor says, his voice now coming from everywhere at once. It fuels me, strengthens the binding. Every moment of pain you experience makes it harder to break free. This is the true genius of the dark side. It uses your compassion against you. Anakin's voice, growing weaker by the moment, cuts through Luke's despair. My son, listen to me. There may be another way, but it will require sacrifice beyond anything either of us has imagined. Luke kneels beside his father again, hope and dread warring in his heart. Tell me, whatever it is. I'll do it. The binding, Anakin whispers, his words coming in short gasps as his life support systems continue to fail, was created through Sith alchemy, but it follows the same principles as all Force connections. It requires both participants to maintain it. The Emperor's expression changes for the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. What are you saying? Luke asks, though part of him already knows and dreads the answer. If I were to voluntarily sever my connection to the Force entirely, to cut myself off from the energy that binds all life together, the binding would collapse. But such an action, Anakin's eyes fill with tears, such an action would be final. No Force ghost, no continued existence, just nothing. Luke feels as if the floor has dropped out from under him. The Force ghost who appeared to him on Dagobah had been Ben Kenobi, maintaining his consciousness after death through his connection to the Force. What his father is suggesting would mean true death, no possibility of reunion, no chance to learn from him or continue their relationship beyond the grave. There has to be another way, Luke insists. The binding can't be that strong. Together, we can find a way to break it without. But even as he speaks, Luke can feel the Emperor's power growing stronger. The resurrected Sith Lord is drawing strength not just from Vader's life force, but from the chaos and despair spreading across the galaxy. Every rebel who falls, every world that surrenders, every moment of hope that dies feeds the dark side ritual that binds father and son together. Through the viewport, Luke watches as another Mon Calamari cruiser is torn apart by a star destroyer that should have been space dust. The deaths of hundreds more rebels wash over him through the Force, each one a personal failure, a life he could have saved if only he had the strength to do what must be done. Your father speaks truly, the Emperor says, his voice now carrying a note of genuine concern for the first time. Severing his connection to the Force would indeed break the binding, but consider what you would lose, young Skywalker, not just his life, but any hope of speaking with him again, of learning the secrets he carries, of continuing. The discussion that follows explores the practical implications of rebuilding the Jedi Order on these new principles. Instead of a centralized temple in Coruscant, they discuss establishing smaller training centers throughout the galaxy, integrated into local communities. Instead of forbidding attachments, they talk about teaching Jedi to form healthy relationships while avoiding the possessiveness and fear that lead to the dark side. Most importantly, they discuss changing the Jedi's role from that of mystical warriors to that of counselors, mediators, and healers. The new Jedi would still be trained in combat. The galaxy would always have need of defenders, but their primary mission would be to help beings resolve conflicts peacefully and to provide aid in times of crisis. The Force connects all living things, Luke explains, echoing lessons he had learned from both Yoda and his father's transformation. That means Jedi shouldn't be separate from other beings, but more connected to them. They should have families, friends, careers outside the Order. They should be part of the communities they serve, not apart from them. As the meeting continues into the evening hours of Ender's Day, the scope of their discussions expands to include economic reconstruction, the integration of former Imperial military personnel, the establishment of new trade relationships between worlds that had been cut off from each other during the Imperial era, and dozens of other complex issues. But through it all, Luke is struck by the spirit of cooperation and good faith that characterizes the discussion. Former enemies contribute their expertise freely. Different species and cultures work together to find solutions that serve everyone's interests. The transformation that had begun in the Emperor's throne room is continuing to ripple outward, changing not just individual hearts, but the fundamental nature of how beings relate to each other. As the formal meetings wind down and people begin to disperse to their various responsibilities, Luke steps outside the command center to look up at the stars. The forest of Endor is peaceful around him, with the sounds of Uic celebration mixed with the voices of humans, Twi'leks, Mon Calamari, Sulistans, and dozens of other species working together on the massive tasks ahead. The night sky is spectacular, unmarked by the light pollution that would characterize more developed worlds. Luke can see the Milky Way stretching across the heavens, each star representing worlds that are now free to choose their own destiny for the first time in decades. Anakin joins him, moving with the easy grace of a man no longer burdened by mechanical prosthetics or the weight of the dark side. His presence in the Force is warm and peaceful, a far cry from the cold menace that had once characterized Darth Vader. "What are you thinking about, my son?" Anakin asks, his voice carrying the gentle affection of a father who never expected to have the chance to know his child. Luke considers the question for a long moment before answering. "I'm thinking about the future, about all the work that still needs to be done, all the challenges we'll face as we try to build this new government and new Jedi Order. But for the first time since I learned you were my father, I'm not afraid of what's coming, because you know we'll face it together. Because I know that love really can transform even the darkest situation, and that redemption is possible for anyone who chooses it." Luke pauses, looking at his father with deep affection and gratitude. Even someone who seemed completely lost to darkness for 20 years. Anakin places a hand on Luke's shoulder, and through their transformed bond, Luke feels his father's deep contentment and peace. The man who had sped to decades as one of the galaxy's most feared villains has found his way back to the light, not through destruction but through transformation, not through punishment but through love. "The work ahead won't be easy," Anakin says, his voice carrying the wisdom of someone who has seen the galaxy at both its worst and its best. "Building a civilization based on freedom and choice rather than control and fear. It's never been done on this scale before. There will be setbacks, failures, conflicts that test our commitment to these ideals. But it's possible," Luke replies with absolute certainty. "We proved that today. If a bond forged in darkness and maintained through 20 years of hatred can be transformed into a force for light and liberation, then anything is possible." As they stand together under the stars of Endor, father and son united at last, Luke can sense through the Force that similar conversations are taking place. On worlds throughout the galaxy, former enemies are becoming allies, old wounds are beginning to heal, and new possibilities are emerging from the ashes of the Empire. On Coruscant, former Imperial officers work alongside rebel leaders to establish transitional governments. On Corellia, shipyards that had produced Star Destroyers begin retooling to build medical ships and exploration vessels. On Kashyyyk, Wookiees and humans work together to heal forests devastated by Imperial exploitation. The galaxy is healing, slowly but surely, as the transformation that began in the Emperor's throne room continues to spread from world to world, from heart to heart, from mind to mind. It's not a magical process that will solve all problems overnight, but it's a genuine change in the fundamental nature of how beings relate to each other and to power. Luke knows that there will still be conflicts to resolve, enemies to face, and challenges that will test their resolve. The Imperial remnants that rejected the transformation will not go quietly into the night. Criminal organizations will try to fill the power vacuum left by the Empire's collapse. Some worlds will struggle with the transition from authoritarian rule to democratic self-governance. But for the first time in his life, Luke feels genuinely optimistic about the galaxy's future. Not because the path ahead will be easy, but because he knows that the beings walking that path have been fundamentally changed by their experience of love's power to transform even the darkest bondage into the brightest freedom. The new republic that will emerge from this transformation will be imperfect, as all governments are. The new Jedi Order will face challenges and make mistakes, as all institutions do, but they will be built on a foundation of compassion rather than control, of service rather than domination, of love rather than fear. And that, Luke realizes as he stands with his father under the infinite stars, makes all the difference in the galaxy.